Answer 105 states near the end, I must not hurt myself, nor willfully expose myself to any danger. This would include some extreme sports. This would include, too, dangerous driving. And we must not willfully expose ourselves to any danger, because we're not supposed to kill ourselves or take risks, unnecessary, sinful risks with our own lives. For the Christian is to be sober. Sober. He's not to live for taking unnecessary risks and getting a thrill or a kick out of coming very, very close to death and chancing it. He's to live for God's honour, and he's to glorify God in body and soul. Thou shalt not kill yourself. Thou shalt not kill also means that we must not murder other people. That's obvious. That's very simple. You can do this personally. That is, you fire the gun, administer the poison, knife the person in the back, or whatever way. Or you can do it through an agent. That is, you can typically pay someone to do it. A hired assassin. You don't say, well, so-and-so shot them, and you paid them, and therefore I'm not guilty. No, you murdered him through the assassin. And then, too, this sin of murdering someone can go to various degrees. You can kill the person, take their life, or damage them. And then you can damage them to different degrees. All forbidden. There are different instruments that we can use to inflict this damage. The actual deed, or, for instance, evil speech. Answer 105 begins that God requires that neither in thoughts, nor words, nor gestures, much less in deeds, I dishonour, or hate, wound, or kill my neighbour by myself or by another. And if I were to ask you, what are especially the two forms of murder that society is softest on, I would expect you to say, first of all, abortion. That is, the murder of an unborn infant. That infant is a person, just as much as Jesus Christ was a person and a human being from his conception to his birth. That was the Son of God incarnate in the womb of the Virgin Mary. From that we see, very simple argument, it's the same with human beings that are not yet born. It's not a lump in a woman's womb, some sort of protoplasm, a little bit of fleshy, bloody stuff. It's a human being. And so abortion is murder. Abortion, the other one is euthanasia. Euthanasia comes from two Greek words, and it means a good death. Isn't that nice? So whenever you kill an unborn baby, you call it abortion. You abort a fetus. That doesn't really sound too bad, does it? You abort a fetus. And then when you kill an old person or somebody severely handicapped or in great pain, you're doing something dignified and worthy. It's a good death. It's like a gay pride. The Bible calls it filthiness and fornication and sodomy, and they call it gay pride. It's like adultery. The world calls it, it's having an affair. Well, the words conjure up images. Euthanasia. The idea is that the person's life is so worthless, they're a burden to themselves and society, costs a lot of money. What do they get out of it? What do their relatives get out of it? And it's a good death, and it's mercy killing. It's not mercy killing, and it's especially not mercy killing in this, that if the person's an unbeliever, they go straight to hell. But then the proverb tells us that the tender mercies of the wicked are cruel. These two issues, abortion and euthanasia, are two issues often discussed in RE classes, so that the children can debate one side or the other. These are two issues that come up in the realm of politics and in the news, especially with the idea of overpopulation, limited resources, an aging population because children are so much trouble and expense, and we live in a largely secular world. Who wants to have children? Too much of a burden. And so only those in poorer countries or those with religious ideas like the Muslims have larger families. Then the pressure comes on. This will no doubt become an issue more and more in wicked days ahead. These two forms of murder, abortion and euthanasia, are murdering the weakest in society. Those who are typically at the opposite ends of the age spectrum, from the very youngest, the unborn, and then they'll be stretched out to infanticide, no doubt, and some are already there, especially if the child pops out and it is found that the child has some disability. From the very youngest to typically the oldest. Thou shalt not kill means thou shalt not murder unborn babies. Thou shalt not murder elderly and disabled people, even if they desire it, because then you are aiding in their suicide, which is self-murder. These, of course, are issues in our society, and particularly issues for those who are Christian doctors and medical staff. Northern Ireland isn't so bad because it hasn't been reduced to the same wicked paganism as much of the Western world. There's still some memory, recollection of Jesus Christ and the Word of Life, but the pressure is on in various parts of the world, and more in the UK. As the country heads and becomes more and more more and more set and works through its own evolutionary, secular, anti-Christian ideas. And without the idea of a transcendent God who creates life, who judges for murder, who has a great throne where all will stand one day, then it's reduced to matter and energy and economic factors, and then you can justify the killing of the unborn and of the disabled or elderly. If we want to put this positively, we would say that it isn't enough not to murder. Not to murder by thoughts, words, gestures, never mind deeds. Not to murder even in the lesser forms of hating or wounding. But we must also, this is the last part of answer 107, we must also prevent the hurt of our neighbour as much as in us lies, and do good, even to our enemies. Let's move on now to the attitudes which are forbidden, because this sixth commandment does not simply forbid acts of murder, it condemns murderous attitudes or dispositions. Question and answer 106 refers to the causes of murder. In forbidding murder, God teaches us that He abhors, detests, loathes the causes of murder, such as envy, hatred, anger, and desire of revenge. These are referred to as the causes of murder because out of these spring murder. Someone just doesn't murder somebody. There's a thinking, planning stage before it. And if these evil attitudes and dispositions are not checked, if they're allowed to develop, murder results.